Hey guys, I'm back with another Batmobile, and this time we're going to be looking at the McFarlane DC Multiverse Batmobile from the upcoming movie The Flash. I have been waiting for this one. I had to pre-order it from Amazon, and I was one of those who had their order delayed. Some of you know that the initial pre-order sold out in less than an hour. So this McFarlane release, because of the price and because of it basically being the fan favorite '89 Batmobile, it really is a hot item right now. My box arrived a little bit damaged, but that's okay, Amazon, because we are definitely taking it out of the box. Now, understandably, we seem to be hearing more about Batman as opposed to the title character of the Flash movie. We all know that we're getting Ben Affleck and the Michael Keaton Batman, so that in itself has made the movie an absolute must-see for me. The best part is that we're getting some great new collectibles based on the Keaton '89 Batman. There are several versions of the Batmobile coming out, and I'm looking to get a few of them. This McFarlane Batmobile has a great price point for a 7-inch scale vehicle, and we've mostly heard and seen good things about it. So let's open it up and see what we get for that great price. Okay, here it is. Now, I've watched a few other videos on this Batmobile while I was impatiently waiting for mine to come in. I've heard some pros and cons, but, having it in hand, I think what we get for the price is pretty cool. It's not a perfect recreation of the Batmobile, but especially for the sales price, I think what we get is totally worth it. Now, out of the box, there was some minor assembly required. The two tail fins are separate pieces that needed to be attached. We know from the packaging that this vehicle itself is 22 inches or 60 centimeters in length. It's a nice large vehicle, but it is surprisingly light in weight. I've heard some comments about this online, and I don't think the construction is cheap, but when you pick it up, it definitely feels like a toy. A great, well-constructed toy, but it is a very lightweight plastic. Now, having said that, the look and the construction is still fantastic. The main body is this very glossy black plastic. It's not meant to be a dull matte black, but this is particularly shiny plastic, very easy to get fingerprints on. That's the first thing that I noticed when I took it out of the box. Now, let's talk about the gray canopy. In some light, it doesn't look too bad, but it is an obvious difference from the rest of the body. It does stand out. We haven't seen the movie, so it's possible that this is how it actually looks, but I seriously doubt it. It really does seem like a factory defect. The unexpected gold bat symbols on the hubcaps, that might be the way that it looks in the movie, but if that canopy really is gray, then that would be a very bizarre choice. I know there are many collectors who have customized this Batmobile and made it all appropriately black, and I'm seriously considering doing the same thing. Now, aside from the canopy being gray instead of black, there are some other obvious color accents, like the yellow headlights, and the turbine in the front is a separate piece of gray plastic. And the fact that they included different pieces of color, like the turbine, and then these silver engine pieces on the side, and of course the silver on the exhaust ports, and the afterburner, the red taillights, it really adds to the overall aesthetic. What I like is how the body of the car has all these molded pieces, like the vents on the trunk, and this sculpted section here on the top where the machine guns are meant to pop out. It gives the impression that there are all of these movable parts or features. Now, it doesn't have as many features as you'd think, but those separate pieces really add to the display value. Now, the wheels are made out of a thick material that feels like rubber. And obviously, the car can move and the tires roll. Feels very sturdy when it's rolling. And the big action play feature is the fact that the canopy opens up. There's a button on the hood here, and when you press this button, it pops the canopy open. It always feels a little fragile, Like, it can easily break off when you slide it open, so just got to be careful. In the cockpit is the collector's card. Let's open it up here. It's basically the same artwork from the box. And there's a little write-up on the back here. Now, let's take a look inside the cockpit. It's a one-seater versus the traditional two-seater. I know some have complained about that, but I think if they made it a two-seater for two 7-inch action figures, this car would have been massive, and it would have definitely cost more than the sales price. You can see the steering wheel there. It doesn't really move, and it's not connected to the tires, but the dashboard has some fantastic sculpting detail on it. Not a lot of color, it's just all silver and black. But again, I think it's important to remember that in the end, this is a toy. So despite some inaccuracies, I always think that it's cool that they actually take the time to include detail like that in the cockpit. I don't collect McFarlane figures, but I had to get the Michael Keaton Batman for this Batmobile. The figure kind of resembles the Batman Returns look, with that armored suit. And the likeness to Keaton is not bad. Of course, there is thankfully a cloth cape so that you can position him here to sit in the Batmobile. It's not easy to get the figure in there the right way. There are actually two slots that the legs are meant to fit in, and it's tricky to get him situated in there. You have to actually get the figure seated all the way, or else you can't close the canopy. You know, when they were filming the original Tim Burton Batman, they had to remove the seat from the '89 Batmobile so he could sit a little bit lower, because the ears of Michael Keaton's cowl kept getting caught whenever they tried to close the canopy. And you can see the same thing happens here if you just sit the figure in there. So you actually need to push him way back in there and just make sure that the ears of the cowl, they sit behind this part in the frame. And then you can close the canopy all the way. Looks cool in there. And you know, it takes a little maneuvering, but you can also get him to hold on to the steering wheel. I think for this Batmobile, you've got to have a figure for it. Whether it's the Mezco or the McFarlane, it just completes the look for this Batmobile. Let's do one quick side-by-side comparison. The one I want to show you is the classic Hot Wheels 1/18 scale '89 Batmobile. This was one of the first Batmobiles in my collection, one of the first Batmobiles that I ever reviewed, and it's still one of my favorites. Now, there are obviously some differences between these two Batmobiles, right? In terms of material, in terms of the construction, and of course the price. And it's a little crazy to me to think that this was the biggest Batmobile in my collection once upon a time. Now, when you look at the side profile, you can really tell that the McFarlane is more of a toy. You mostly see this with some of the inaccuracies in the dimensions. You can see with the Hot Wheels that the body is slim and a bit more elongated, and that's very much the way that the Batmobile looks in the movies. The frame of the McFarlane is a little bit taller, and the front end doesn't extend as far. It's the same with the back and how it's just a bit more chunky. You can also see how the shape of the canopy on the McFarlane is a bit more compact. The window is a little bit wider, and I think that design mostly helps to give more space in the cockpit for their large 7-inch scale action figures. Now, all of this is not a knock against the McFarlane. I think we can all agree that it's still great to have an awesome looking collectible of the '89 Batmobile. And, you know, a common question that I get when I review something like a Hot Wheels or a Jada is, can you fit a certain scale figure in that Batmobile? The answer generally is no. So the fact that McFarlane gave us a vehicle that you can use with a figure, the fact that they still captured the look and the spirit of this fan favorite Batmobile while keeping the price far below any other vehicle of similar quality is just amazing. In closing, I think this is a great release from McFarlane Toys. For me, it's obvious why it sold out so quickly. I know it has some issues in terms of the gray canopy and the dimensions of the frame, like I mentioned, but I still think overall it's a solid recreation of the vehicle, and of course you can't beat the price. For most fans of The Dark Knight, this is the favorite Batmobile. And if you're one of those fans, and you can track one down, this McFarlane Batmobile is a must-have. You guys let me know what you think in the comments below. Do you think this Batmobile is worth the $60 price point? And would you have paid a little bit more to have a few more features? Also, if you do have one, let me know if you're planning to customize yours and fix that gray canopy. As always, I appreciate your comments, and I appreciate you taking the time to watch and subscribe. So, we've been looking at the McFarlane DC Multiverse Batmobile from the movie The Flash. Thanks for watching, guys. I'll see you on the next one. Take care.